Hello, welcome back to my garden. Today we're going to be planting up some of the front bed here, and I've already selected or pre-selected a bunch of plants that I'm going to be planting out. The other thing I'm going to be doing is doing some direct sowing. Now last year I grew calendula in pots and I planted them out here in the front garden, and they did pretty well right up until high summer, and then they died back. That's what apparently calendula do. In this pot here though, what I did last fall was I planted a couple of Fritillaria maxima, I think that's what they're called. Crown Imperials is the common name. And well, I have no Crown Imperials. So instead of tossing this entire pot, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant some calendula in here and let it grow on until whenever, and then I'll figure out what to do with the pot at that point. But I'm curious as to what happened to those Crown Imperials. So what I think what I'm going to do is a little investigation here, and we're going to dig into this, and this is probably not going to be pretty. My guess is that when we had all that heavy rain about a month ago, the Crown Imperials wound up rotting. They're strange little bulbs. If you've ever grown Crown Imperials, you know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, they rotted. Here's one, it's totally rotted. So they got too wet. And the problem with Crown Imperials is that, well, again, experienced gardeners, you know this, the way they're shaped, they sort of capture all that water, and the water's got no place to go. So the bulbs wind up rotting. Hindsight being 2020, I'm just going to toss that back in there. Hindsight being 2020, what I should have done was covered this with something, plastic trash bag, doesn't really matter, but cover it up so that, I just found another one I think that's rotted. I think it was just too much rain. It was about 8 inches of rain in a 2-week period, or week and a half or so. Either way, it was a lot of rain, and I really should have covered up this container. Because even though it's filled with potting soil, which is free draining, again, the way the Crown Imperial is shaped, it sort of catches a lot of that water. And then, bad things happen like the rotting. So, if you have any tips on how to grow Crown Imperials successfully, which I've only done once before, I think I've planted them like 5 different times and only grew them successfully once, please leave those comments below. In the meantime, I think we're going to direct sow some calendula into this pot. In this container, like I said, we're going to be planting calendula, and I'm going to choose to do Ivory Princess. It's a whitish, creamish colored. I think it might look nice right here in the pot because, as you can tell around me, I have a lot of green, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a lighter color to break up the green I think would be nice. The instructions say plant in depth 1/4 inch. Okay. I'm trying to decide how I should plant them. You know what? I'm going to get crazy here. This could be my bad, but we're going to sprinkle them on, and then we're just going to take our fingers and tease them into the soil. I have no idea what's going to germinate or not germinate. These seeds are about a year old. They should still be fine. And if I do see a lot germinating, I will then thin them out. How do you guys plant your calendula? Let me know in the comments below. Do you even plant calendula? So I'm just taking my fingers here, teasing the soil. So when we're all done today with all the planting, then I'll give everything water. But in the meantime, let's plant some lupine. Here I have my snapdragons from last year that I planted. The Tetra Mix, I love them, they're great. In the back over here I have a foxglove. Here I have some daylilies. And there's an echinacea over here. There was a Gaura here, but that Gaura died. And I'm going to be planting a dahlia here. And I have a couple agapanthus back by the pot. But right here I have this gap. Now last year I had started some lupine from seed in the greenhouse. They grew. Most of them died. And then I planted out the remainders, the couple that I had left right here. Well, they obviously didn't take. So what I'm going to try to do this year, this is something that I've never done before, is do some direct sowing of the lupine. See what happens. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm just going to push back some of this mulch. That looks good. The variety I'm going to be using is tall Russell lupine. And let's take a look at the seeds here. Now these are supposed to be planted 24 to 36 inches apart, 1/8 of an inch deep. So we're going to take just a few of these. Just gonna push them in a bit. I don't know what's gonna grow. I don't know what's gonna germinate. We're gonna give it a whirl. Press the soil down a bit. If it seems like all these seeds are coming up at the same time, I have no problems going in and thinning if they're too bunched together, thus allowing the remainders to grow and do their thing. These don't need sunlight to germinate, so we're just gonna put a thin layer of mulch over the top. Okay. I'm gonna throw a couple of tags in just to sort of let me know what and where I planted. And with a little luck, there should be a bunch of lupine here in the next couple of weeks. We will find out. Now, here we're going to plant a red skin dahlia, I believe. Yeah, red skin dahlia. This was something that, actually, I tried growing a dahlia here last year and didn't take. And I'm going to try to get this in the ground while things are warm, but not too hot. This upcoming week, you guys are probably watching this on Monday. I think we're supposed to be in the 80s, so much for spring. But then, I think over the weekend, next weekend, the temperature is supposed to drop down to the 60s. Go figure. Crazy weather. End of the world. Armageddon. Whatever you want to call it. In the meantime, I'm going to plant my dahlia here. I'm just going to pop this out of the pot gently, or as gentle as I can. There we go. Okay. Ooh, good roots. Real good roots. We're going to add some compost to this area. Okay. Tuck you in like so. Add some more compost. I'm really just looking to cover up the whole tube. I'm looking to cover the whole tuber, and then we're just going to pull this mulch right back on the top. And then, like I said, this whole area is going to get watered, and this dahlia should be pretty happy. Now my hope is that it does grow this year and it grows well, and then it will stay here forever. I like to plant perennials as much as I can because they're less work, less maintenance. If you guys like more annuals and less perennials, or more perennials and less annuals, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys like. In the meantime, this tag is coming out because that Gara died. It's very sad because the Gara did very, very well. Not everything planted grows and not everything planted survives. Let's get on to the next group of planting. So right here, just a few inches from where I planted the dahlia, I'm going to do another dahlia. This one is a mixed dahlia, so I have no idea what if it's going to be a ball or a cactus or what. But I'm going to stick this dahlia right here, I think. This is a crackerjack marigold. I think I've shown this to you guys before. So that's going to go over here, and right next to it we're going to do another one. So there'll be two crackerjack marigolds. Now between that, this agapanthus, these, what are these, echinaceas here, and the ornamental onions, I think it's really going to fill in this space. And there's a gap basically where my foot is right now that we'll worry about filling in another time. But for now, let's get to planting these. You know what? I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back here a bit. See if we can uncover all this. Over here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. All right. So that's these three planted. Let's move on to the next group. Back here, I've got, I believe these are some sort of Shasta daisy, not 100% sure. Over here I have variegated Japanese iris. They've been loving the rain that we've been getting because they're right next to the downspout drain there. And in front of me here I have some rose mint agastache right here. So I think in this hole right here, we're going to turn around and plant up two polar bear zinnias right here, and then a giant orange zinnia. And then as they grow, they should really fill in the space. I don't know if it's in shot or you may have noticed, but I do have a couple of what appears to be bare patches not covered with mulch. Those are direct sowings that I did of, I can't remember what, and I can't see the tags from where I am, but the seeds need sunlight to germinate. So I have to leave them uncovered. I also have to monitor them because of the heat and need to keep the areas as moist as I can. Pull back some mulch here. The soil looks good. Pop out one of the polar bears. Cover you back up with mulch. Right, let's get the other polar bear, I think right about here. Now these will obviously grow and overlap. Experienced gardeners, you know all this, I'm like preaching to the choir over here, but they will grow and they will overlap. I do realize that. And I kind of want that. This way it helps block out the weeds. There we go. Add that in there. There we go. And it fills in the area as well. You may have noticed as I'm planting that I try to leave tags with quite a few of the plants. And that's for two reasons. One, if something dies, I could say, oh, that was a zinnia that was there and that died. And the other thing, I can identify as I'm planting other plants in the area, maybe if I want to try to do a little color coordination or if I'm worried about the height of a plant. So for instance, the orange zinnia here should be theoretically taller than the polar bears in front. Now I have some daylilies behind me, but they'll be fine. Plus, I'm sure that the deer will come by eventually and eat the daylilies down for me. So that's not a problem. Those two spots that I mentioned before, maybe you can see them now. This one is a phlox, and this one over here, right here, is balsam. I'm hopeful that they do germinate in the next week or so, but again, with the heat, I'm not sure. I give it a try, see what happens. If I don't see anything germinating in the next couple of weeks, then something else will get planted here. But in the meantime, right here in this corner, I'm going to turn around and put in another dahlia. And this one is a mixed dahlia, so I have no idea what it's going to be. Ball, cactus, dinner plate, open. Tuck you in there, give you some compost, and cover back up. And tag. This way, if it dies, I know what was here and what died. And this is the last plant we're going to be planting today. And this is another mixed dahlia. And we're going to put it back over here. Now, dahlias do like sun, and this spot does get some sun during the course of the day. So we're just going to turn around and pop this guy out. Drop him right in there. All right, get you in there. Cover you back up. Make you happy, happy. And there we go. So here's my mixed dahlia that I just planted. I have a couple of mums right here. There's some purple sensation alliums that will be popping up there. I have these elephant ears, and these are sunset foxglove. I have a few of them, and hopefully they flower this year because I planted them last year. We will have to wait and see. Now, because this dahlia isn't going to get a ton of light, like I said, right now it's in shade. It'll probably get a little more sun, maybe a little later, but I think it's going to start going into shade now for the rest of the day. But I want to wait and see what happens. Will it flower? Will it really enjoy this spot? I don't know. This is an experiment. I propagated enough dahlia tubers that if it doesn't do well, I can either move it, or if it dies, so be it. I'm not all that worried, but again, I have enough that I can experiment, put it here and see what happens. The foxglove comes up here. You'll have the mixed dahlia here coming up, adding a little bit of height to the area. These mums will start to die back in the middle of summer. They'll get a little too toasty, but then they'll come back with a vengeance in the fall. Purple sensations will add some height, and of course the elephant ears will add quite a bit of height too. So here's another project that I can scratch off my book, but we're not done in this bed yet. Over the next few weeks, as the garden starts growing more and some of these things start to fill in, I can then see what and where the blank spots are and then go back and fill them in. So for instance, if those lupines don't germinate, or if the balsam and phlox here behind me, they don't germinate, then I can always come back in with other plants to fill in those gaps. Hopefully, if I have plants left over. If you're wondering if I have a particular color palette or style, I don't. This is just willy-nilly sticking things in the ground, seeing what works, what doesn't work. If anything, this is this would be considered a cottage style garden, because again, I'm just shoving things in here and whatever grows, grows, and there's no particular color palette. If down the road I don't like something, or if I don't think it belongs in the area, or if I want to change something up, that's one of the wonderful things about gardening. And again, many of you experienced gardeners already know this, I can dig it up and I can move it. In fact, many of these plants over time will have to be dug up anyways to be divided so that they continue to grow on, and I can take those divisions and either replant them here in the same garden, or I can move them to another part of the garden itself. There's so much going on. There's so much that's going to continue to go on. There's so much more that needs to be planted. If you guys are new to the channel, if you're watching, thank you for being a new subscriber. I have greenhouse full of plants, and I have tables outside the greenhouse which are full of plants, which all need to get planted out here shortly. As I mentioned, this upcoming week, it's going to get into the low 80s, and that greenhouse is just going to become basically completely unbearable for the plants that are in there. I'm going to try to get the greenhouse covered in shade cloth this week, and that'll help a little bit, but it's not a long-term solution, as it were. The long-term solution is get the plants out of the greenhouse. But many of them are to a size now that they can be outside. Our freezing temperatures are long gone. The coolest nights that I see in the upcoming forecast is 50, which is not bad at all. So there's going to be a lot of videos hopefully coming out soon, and hopefully you guys follow along as I continue to plant, and follow along to see what does and doesn't survive here in the all over the garden, not just here in this front house bed, but also in the main flower garden, where I have already started doing some planting without you guys. Don't worry, there's a lot more to come. Hopefully you guys are planting up your gardens already. If you're not, hopefully you'll be planting soon. I really hope that we all have a great 2024 gardening year. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe, click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. Check out all the links below. I think it's going to wrap it up for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.